Hey, what up, internet? It's your boy, Gadget Guy. I got a hot new video for you this week. I'm super stoked to be talking about it. This is something I've not spent a lot of time with, but I want to push out this full review. Something I think is going to be really hype. It's going to be lit. It's going to be fresh to death. And of course, this week we are talking about the sweet potato. Nah, I'm just messing with y'all. This is a yam for sure. And immediately I want to talk about my impressions. Like I said, I'm really excited to be holding one of these. It's something I've been working towards for a little while. And in the hand, it's got a great contour. I'm definitely excited about that. It's got a really organic shape to it. You can hold it. It fits in your hand really well. So that's definitely really cool. But I was a little surprised. I mean, just looking at it, just holding it. I mean, like this thing's like really big. I mean, it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. So there's definitely some concerns there that, I mean, we might be looking at some wasted space. I mean, that this isn't really utilizing all of the features of produce like it could be. Like we don't have any kind of handle that we can hold on to, or like there's no like extra protective like skin or, you know, ruggedized skin or oleophobic coating, nothing like that. That's definitely a disappointment, but the ergonomics are on point. This is definitely something you'll be able to hold, you'll be able to grip, that you'll be able to use throughout your day. And so like I said, it's a pretty simple presentation. It's got a nice sort of texture to the skin on it. It feels really good on the fingertips. But in that size, just like the wasted space that we're looking at for this thing, I'm really concerned that this feature set could have been accomplished without all of this mass. I mean, you look at a competitor like the red potato and you get a lot of the same features, the same eyes, a very similar skin. I mean, also this could be a little bit more durable too, you know what I'm saying? But it's coming in a much smaller form factor. This is something I could very much more easily keep in my pocket throughout the day. It's got a nicer, I think it's got a nicer texture to the fingertips. It's not like it's soft or that it's squishy, but it just feels like it's a little bit nicer. You know what I mean? It's like a little bit nicer. So that's one of the reasons why I'm concerned about the yam. The yam could be a little bit smaller. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk to like the farmers manufacturing the yam, just say, you know, like, you know, what's going on there. Now, a couple folks have been saying that like they have very different flavor profiles, you know, like the red potato is going to taste different than a yam. And, you know, I don't know about that. I didn't actually try to do anything with the yam. Like I didn't try cooking with it or, you know, like trying to serve up like recipes for the yam. Like I know the red potato really well. And so like I do roasted potatoes with rosemary like all the time. But I mean, you know, like when you look at them, you can see like, oh, well, they look similar enough. They're probably, you know, the same. So if I were to try and do the same things with the yam that I did with the red potato, then I would definitely say like the red potato is better. Fun little bit of trivia about the yam. All yams are sweet potatoes, but not all sweet potatoes are yams. So when we're looking at a member of the potato family, one of these tubers, they grow under the earth in soil, and they have that sweeter flavor profile. A yam is going to have that really bright orange coloring, but there are sweet potatoes that have a more traditional, lighter potato coloring. I seem to have fallen out of character. So looking at the overall form factor, the design, the aesthetic, like I said, I really like these rounded sides. I think that fits in the hand really well. I think that's really cool, nice texture. It's really grippy. You're not just gonna randomly drop. This isn't gonna slip out of your hand like a wet bar of soap. But there are a couple design elements that I think are kind of ripped off, you know? Like, so when we look at this yam and we see like how it kind of comes to points on the side, you know, I've seen lemons that do that. I've seen bananas that have this kind of curve to them. And I just feel like we could be doing something a bit more original with the look of a piece of produce. So that's definitely a mark against for how big this is and how much space is being wasted for design elements that we've already seen on other pieces of fruit and other vegetables. And I mean, as we're walking around the yam, we definitely have a lot of those little eyes. Like I said, you can see those on brown potatoes and red potatoes, and some of the white potatoes often will have some of these same dimples. No battery, no screen, no wireless radios. There isn't a port specifically on this for something like USB-C, so that's definitely a step back. I mean, obviously we're all looking for USB-C compatibility on all of our future purchases. But funnily enough, like I didn't have any problems plugging a USB-C cable into it. So that's definitely a positive. You know, you can actually pop in any kind of cable. If you want to pop in a lightning connector, you can do that. You want to plug in a 3.5mm headphone jack, you can plug that in. It doesn't come native on the potato, but the potato seems to support it pretty well. Now, one of the cool things about a yam and many other members of the potato family, you can actually turn them into a battery. Like, you can turn them into a way to power other electronics. You can hook this up to a clock, it's gonna power a clock. That's definitely an advantage that this piece of produce has over, say, an apple or a banana or any piece of citrus. So that's really exciting. But again, I have those concerns where when we're looking at something this big, I mean, sure, it can power a clock. So that's definitely really cool, but I feel like we could probably power a clock using a smaller power source. So again, for all of this space, for all of this size, I feel like it's just a lot of it's wasted. Like, we could probably condense that amount of power into a smaller form factor and like use that to power a clock or a battery. So like, if you have like a portable battery charger for your smartphone, for example, you could use that instead of a potato or a yam and not have to carry around something quite this large. And it's also really disappointing when you pull a fresh vegetable or a fresh piece of fruit out of the bag and it doesn't really have its own smell. No, I mean, like, it doesn't, I mean, I'm getting like just sort of earthy notes, like it kind of smells a little like dirt. And so that's kind of gross, you know? You wanna, if you're gonna invest in eating something or cooking something, like I haven't even cooked a yam, so I don't even know what this thing can do. But it's, you want something that's gonna impress you a bit more out of the bag. And so it definitely doesn't have that really killer, you know, unboxing kind of experience. I didn't even bother shooting an unboxing video for it. I mean, just, it was so lackluster that it was really kind of a disappointment. So if you're looking at a yam, you know that you're in for a very different type of produce investment. It's not something that's gonna wow you, you know, right out of the bag, right out of the grocery store. You know, no one's like running around like, oh my God, I got a yam, you know, so it's definitely not one of the more popular pieces of produce. We're gonna talk about that in just a little bit more. But, you know, it's one of those things, like, if you know what you're in for, then I guess like that's okay. Maybe you're kind of like on that hippie side and you like that kind of earthy or that sort of raw nature dirt thing going on. I mean, that's not me, that's not my jam. So maybe you like that. But it's one of those things where if you're not prepared for it and you're coming from a different piece of produce, you're coming from a more citrusy piece of fruit, or you're coming from a more robust, like a bell peppery kind of vegetable, you get this up under your nose and it's gonna be a shock because there's just nothing to smell, nothing to hold on to there. So like I said, I was really concerned about the durability. You know, this doesn't come with any of those special features, like it doesn't come with a protective skin or a hardened shell, nothing like that. So I reached out, this was an opportunity, I reached out to one of my buddies on YouTube, do a little cross-channel collaboration with my friend Barry Rex Every Tech. And he took a second to play around with the yam, share his thoughts, what it could do, what it couldn't do, scratch test, burn test, bend test. So I'm gonna pass it over to Barry because Barry's way more qualified to be talking about this stuff than I am. And we'll jump back into the review after he has his say about how well the yam survives his torture test.
Thanks for having me on, Gadget Guy. We're going to kick things off, jumping straight into a scratch test, labeling different areas where we'll try to scratch the yam using different hardness picks. With the first scratch using the softest pick though, you can see that the yam skin is not resistant at all to scratches. In fact, far softer than talc on the Mohs hardness scale. There's really no point in even moving up to harder picks, and where we might show front and back scratch resilience on other products, the yam is wrapped completely in the same material all the way around. If you're concerned about the aesthetics of your yam before consuming it, a case is absolutely mandatory. Given the poor performance in our scratch test, the yam holds up extremely well to being held against a direct flame. After 20 seconds, there's almost no visible indication of any contact with fire, and where the spot was warm to the touch, the mass of the yam quickly balanced out that small transfer of heat energy. This test really isn't relevant to daily use, as cooking food requires a larger heat source and often a pan of some sort, but I really just enjoy playing with lighters. And now, the bend test, where the skin is disappointingly soft and easy to mark. That doesn't hamper structural rigidity in the slightest. Yams are phenomenally well constructed, and applying as much human-generated force as I can muster, even to areas which appear less structurally sound, we couldn't cause any failure in the product. Not only did the yam remain intact, there are no visible signs that a bend test was even attempted, marking this as one of the sturdiest vegetables we've ever reviewed. Happily, this piece of produce will not be joining our cubby of crap construction. To explain our comment in the scratch test, a case is only necessary for protecting the aesthetics of your yam, as the internals are phenomenally durable. Now for a quick teardown. Outward appearance would seem that there's a lot of wasted space on the outside of the yam, but internally, the farmers manufacturing this potato have packed this tuber full of starchy material. There's literally no hole or gap to fit any more material, which is an incredible use of space. Halving and quartering the yam, we expected to find at least some small pocket, a nook, or a cranny, where a less dense material might reside. But surprisingly, that assumption turned out to be false. This is incredibly heartening after spending some time with other fruits and vegetables, like tomatoes or bell peppers, where a significant portion of the internal structure is taken up by fluid or even air. Wrapping up our durability tests and teardown, in our opinion, the internal structure of the yam is phenomenally well produced, but we are disappointed by the external surface area's lack of features and easily marred soft coating. This has been Barry Rack's Every Tech, and you can catch more of our durability tests on YouTube. And now, we'll send it back to you, Gadget Guy.
I mean, damn, Barry, you treat your produce rough. Now, this is the yam that he was working with. We're not surprised at all. I mean, these are the little scratches that he went through right there. This is gonna scratch really, really easy, but I was super excited to see the burn test. I mean, there's just like this one little mark where a part of the skin has sort of been cooked. The rest of the yam is doing just fine. It's not got any other marks on it. And even from doing the bend test, you know, where he's trying to break it and bend it in half, I mean, all of that's looking legit. So this is actually turned out to be a much more robust piece of produce than I thought it would be. And for all of the wasted space on the outside with the design accents and the lack of other features like a skin or a robust shell, I was really stoked to see that it is full of carbs. So the inside of this piece of produce is absolutely maximized for that starchy carb delivery system. So that's pretty hot. That is actually a vote in favor of the potato, and that brings us to price, where I was able to pick up one of these guys for just under $2. It's a little bit more than $1.50 a pound. And when we compare that to something like, say, a Honeycrisp, you know, you're looking at a really tasty apple, that's gonna be order of magnitude a lot less expensive. So you definitely get a starchy bang for buck. This is definitely one area where the manufacturing farmers for the yam have done their homework. So they have absolutely packed this thing. I mean, that thin skin, all of this thin skin, under the skin, it's like nothing but carbs. So we've talked about the design, we've talked about the ergonomics, we've done a torture test on this potato. It's time to give the verdict. Is the yam worth it for the money? Now, this one was kind of tough for me, folks, as I'm sure there's some people out there who are subscribed to my channel who are fans of the yam, but ultimately I'm gonna have to say no, this is not worth it for the money. I'm really concerned about the waste of outside space. While the inside is very well packed, it's a very dense piece of produce, I'm very concerned about, like I said, that there's nothing really going on with the outside. I really wish it had a better protective shell. It was more rugged, and I'm really disappointed in the lack of unique design elements. At the best they could come up with were sort of roundy, pointy bits that I think other pieces of fruit and other vegetables do better. And at the same time, there's just that lack of wow factor. You know what I mean? That's what I call the wow factor. Like, you take it out of the bag and you go like, wow, that's something I'm gonna eat, yo. And really, I just know that yam's not gonna be super popular out there. You know what I'm saying? You know, not like a lemon 7, you know, like this is gonna be something that a lot of consumers are gonna go for. We already know it's gonna be super popular. When I make videos on the lemon 7, you know, like I know I'm gonna be getting more clicks. I know I'm gonna be getting more hits. More people are gonna be talking about it. More people are gonna be sharing it. So it's an easier recommendation, right? Like, I already know that people like this thing, so it's easier for me to make videos on it, where it's a lot harder for me to like do all the extra homework that I have to on what's going on with the yam, just so that, you know, I can share that with a smaller fan base, a smaller audience of people that are really into yams. So I'm just not gonna get back to the yam anytime soon. I'm just not really that afraid of losing the smaller percentage of yam fans as my subscriber base. Whereas, you know, like, you can definitely count on me doing like 20 videos about the banana, because, you know, I just know so many more people are out there and it's got better SEO scores. So that's definitely something that's gonna help my ad metrics a lot more. And then when I make those videos about the banana and I say nice things about the banana, well, that just makes all of the people who have already bought bananas feel like they've made a smart choice. So then it's like I'm saying nice things about them, not just the fruit that they bought, but that I think that they're good people. And that just, you know, that makes me look super cool for my ultra hip, discerning audience who all really want to be educated about different pieces of produce, but really we know that they're just coming to videos like these to have their preconceived notions confirmed in a rolling echo chamber of confirmation bias. That's the final verdict on the yam. Do you agree, disagree? Vote in the viewer poll up ahead, and drop a comment down below this video, and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button so you catch all the updates on everything we're doing here on Gadget Guy. We got some hot stuff coming up, some fun food pairings, some fun like wine and cheese tastings, and definitely some cool stuff that you're gonna wanna be hip to. And definitely gotta send a shout out to the rest of my Team Crunchy. Go check out Bored at Work. He's gonna be doing some hot review of the new Red Apple. So if you're stoked about that, you definitely wanna check that out. And my boy Warren, he's gonna be taking a look at the newest Android release, Oreo. That sounds delicious, so you definitely wanna head over to his channel, BW1, also Bored at Work, BW1, and definitely share that hashtag Team Crunchy for life, and I will catch you all on the next video. Bam. Well, I mean, this is just a coincidence. I mean, this isn't a thinly veiled metaphor for me wearing my produce fanboyism on my sleeve or anything like that.